Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name's Anna. On my channel we talk about murder mystery, true crime stories, urban legends, all that good stuff. Well, not really like good stuff, but like it's a good time over here with me anyways. So, yeah. But today we are going to be talking about a true crime story. It was solved, but now it's unsolved. So it's kind of a doozy. And I do want to give my normal trigger warning that we will be talking about crime scenes, descriptions of crime scenes, adult dialogue, and we are going to be talking about children. I'm not going to get too much into detail about like what happened to them, but I am going to tell you like a gist of it because there are certain details that I need to tell you in order for certain things to make sense. So, yeah. So we're going to get right into today's story, and this is a story that is actually like pretty popular. I'm not going to assume and say that you guys know it because, not everybody is aware of every single crime out there, but this was a pretty public crime, and it was in 1993 in West Memphis, Arkansas, right in the Bible Belt in 1993. And I'm sure that, well, I'm going to just give a description. Like the Bible Belt, if you don't know, means it's a hardcore, like, religious state. It's normally in the South. My town, or not really my town, but my state falls under the Bible Belt. So, yeah, it's normally just really southern, really religious type states. So, that's what the Bible Belt means. I just wanted to tell you guys in case you didn't know. I'm not going to assume that people know stuff. So, yeah. But, this is about the West Memphis 3. And like I said, the crime took place in 1993. So, on May 5th, 1993, Steve Branch and Christopher Byer and James Moore, they were all 8 years old. Steve was born November 26, 1984. Christopher was born June 25th, 1984, and James was born July 27th, 1984. So like I said, all the boys were born in 1984, and they were all, 8 years old. So, like I said, May 5th, 1993, the boys were all Cub Scouts, so they spent like a lot of time in the woods and stuff, and that was just like, that was just their thing. I was about to put on more concealer. Do I want to? No. Okay. Anyways, I got this new, side note, sorry, I got this new foundation from Ulta. I got a gift card for Christmas, so I got it. It's Revlon Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation. I've already tried it. It's amazing. I will leave a description down in the box for you guys to get it. It's awesome. But anyways, so the boys, like I said, they were Cub Scouts, so they spent a lot of the time, in the woods, and especially like together. They were all very, very close. They hung out in school, after school, they were just a really close group of young boys. So, like I said, they were Cub Scouts, and they hung out at this place all the time in the woods called Robin Hood Hills. And it was, it was just a thing that they went and did. And that day after school, the boys hopped on their bikes and they, rode there. And normally they were around home before the sun went down. And so the parents would expect them probably around like 6 normally. And, that's exactly what the parents were waiting for, was for the boys to get home around 6 o'clock, eat supper, do your homework, just all that jizz. So, that sounded really weird. Anyways, so 6 o'clock rolls around, and none of the boys came home. None of them. Not Steve, not Christopher, and not James. So, where are they? So obviously the parents get worried. They go search for the boys themselves. They go to all the places that the boys would normally hang out, and they cannot find them, like, at all. So at that moment, they notify police, and the search for the boys is actually not conducted until the next day. And if you are into, you know, these type of stories and this type of stuff, you know that the first 24 hours, the first 12 hours, honestly, is the most critical time for somebody to be looked for, especially a kidnapped or missing child. That is very crucial time frame to be found. So, which I think it was crappy police work that the search wasn't started until the next day, but that's just my opinion. So, like I said, the next day, May 6th, the boys were still missing. They had not come home. Police search starts, and they're looking around all the wooded areas, just everywhere, like I said, you know, that the boys could have been. And Robin Hood Hills were, you know, I'm just gonna call it the hills, because it's gonna be like a really, like, tongue tie for me. So yeah, but the boys, like I said, they hung out at that spot, the hills, and that is exactly where the police and stuff started to look. And there was a creek around that area. They had all types of volunteers, like I said, police. This was a very close community, so everybody was just involved in the help. And there was a parole officer whose name was Stephen Jones, and he saw a sneaker floating in the creek that was nearby. So of course they're looking for boys. He's worried, so he goes over there to kind of investigate, like, what's going on. Steven steps down into the water to grab the sneaker, and when he steps down into the water, he seems to get stuck almost, and he's, you know, pulling his leg out, trying to get it out, and it's not coming out. He's just stuck. So he's trying, and then he finally gets his leg out, and he realizes that he had actually stuck his foot into a body that was underneath the water. And at that moment, you know, he obviously notified everybody in the area, and the bodies were pulled out of the creek, and they were, in fact, the bodies of the 3 boys that were currently missing. And all of them were found unclothed. They were tied by their shoestrings. And it seemed that Christopher was the one that had it the worst out of everybody. He actually had visible marks on his body, and the other boys did not. So it seemed, like I said, that Chris was the one who got the worst end of the deal. His private area was messed with, and the other boys wasn't. So they had these bite marks on them. His private area did. And, you know, they were kind of like, all right, well, this is weird. Like, why is Chris, you know, the main one targeted in this situation? It seems like, oh, of course the other boys were, but like I said, you know, Chris, it seemed like he got the worst out of all of it. Well, the boys, like I said, they were tied up by their shoestrings, and they were taken out of the river, and there's actually footage on YouTube, which I will not insert at all. Sorry, but I'm not going to. Find it very disrespectful. But there's actual footage that you can find. I would not recommend it whatsoever at all. I had really bad dreams about it. But there is footage online of the boys actually being pulled out of the river or the creek, and like I said, I would not recommend it at all for you to look at. It's not something that you should see or anybody should see. But like I said, the video is there. So the mom one of the moms of the boys, she's also, you know, like one of the videos on YouTube. If you haven't, you know, heard about the Memphis 3, I'm sure you've seen her video of, it's a woman that is being told that her son's body has been found, and she immediately drops and passes out in what seems to be a parking lot that they were kind of gathering, like all the search people and the police and just everything. So, like I said, if you probably don't know about this story, then that might be like a video that you've seen. It was kind of like a viral thing, which I find wrong that her pain was made viral, but, you know. So, many rumors, like I said, started to spread because this was a small southern town. Like, stuff like this did not happen. So, people were very, very taken back by this situation. And they, you know, people just didn't know how to act, like, at all. They were scared, and rightfully so. I mean, I would be terrified of something like that happening. And there was rumors and speculation about the forest where the boys were found being responsible for satanic rituals, and a lot of people would go there to commit, you know, Satan worship. And I'm not bashing Satanists. You know, you believe what you believe in. That's okay. I know some people that are Satanists that are nice. But anyways, so the town, like I said, was going crazy. They wanted to know what was happening, what happened. And people started to talk, and someone came forward and said the name Damon Echols. And sadly, he fit the satanic worshiper profile that they had created, you know, back then. And it was the band t-shirts, the rock and roll music, all of that, which does not mean at all that you worship Satan. It's just, it was stupid. It was part of the whole satanic panic, and I talked about that in a recent video. You can check that out, as well as the Ricky Casso video. It explains a little bit more of the whole, like, satanic panic time. And I think that, I gotta take a sip. I think that it scared a lot of people because, like I said, they had no idea, like, who could possibly do this to these young boys, because things like this didn't happen around there. So they were just trying to find any answer that they could. So an eyewitness came forward. Echols actually had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend's aunt at the time, Narlene Hollingsworth, she called the police saying that she saw him covered in mud around 9 p.m., you know, coming from the creek when the night that the boys had gone missing. So she told police, you know, that information, and they took it as, okay, well, this dude seems suspicious, so let's figure out who Damien Echols is. So in that moment, that's when they started to, you know, put together, thinking that he worshipped Satan because of the bands that he listens to and all that. So, and he kind of didn't make it easy for himself. He kind of almost played the part, it seemed like, but he didn't really have anything, like I said, but the whole band t-shirts and just the music and dressing in black and stuff. So that was basically all they had, like, on him about that. So, oh my goodness, that was way too much. So, like I said, this aunt had came forward, and Damien was actually, you know, taken to the police station, and he was interviewed, and he, you know, was kind of cocky, like, in the interview. He didn't make it easy for police to try to get information out of him, like, at all. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Damien Echols. He was very mentally ill. He was very unhealthy. In 1992, his parents had actually sent him to an asylum for his behavior, his devil worship, and they said that he was, you know, basically like a witch. And he practiced things that they did not necessarily agree with, and they saw it as wicked, and they didn't want him, you know, to go down that path, so they were trying to correct it and sent him to an asylum in 1992. Well, that basically didn't do anything, and he was homicidal and suicidal, And his actual medical, like, pages are 500 pages long. Like, his medical record is 500 pages long. That's a new level of, like, oh my goodness, to me anyways. So, like I said, he was very mentally ill. He had a lot of mental illnesses, and he just seemed very unstable for, you know, for somebody, for, like, them, the police, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. For the police officers, that seemed like more of an excuse than the whole devil worship thing. Oh, he's mentally unstable. Like, they played up on that, like, a lot. And it didn't help, like I said, at all, that he was kind of cocky and he didn't help himself in that situation. By one time in high school, he was actually, you know, like I said, situation he didn't help himself in at all. He was actually given detention, and whenever he was there, this boy that was in detention as well had, you know, cut himself, and instead of minding his business, Eccles grabs the boy's arm and licks the blood off of the boy's arm. So this complete stranger, well, I don't know if they were strangers, I'm not going to assume, but anyways, so this boy just randomly cut his arm, and Eccles, like, sucks up the blood like it was nothing. Just somebody else's blood, by the way. Like, not his, somebody else's. Obviously, you know, they're thinking at this moment, there's no way that Eccles could have done this, like, by himself. So, of course, because he's got two friends that dress the same way he does and listen to the same music he does, they get roped into the whole situation. And that was Jason Baldwin and Mr. Jesse Miskelly, Jesse Miskelly, sorry. And like I said, they were roped into the whole situation, and it did not seem good for them, like, at all, because they were just using this whole Satan worship thing, and the music that they listen to, it's just insane to me, like, how they could really think that somebody was just worshiping Satan because of the music they listened to. But anyways, so the boys, they were all interviewed basically by police, and Jesse didn't do any better at all. Like I said, he made things a lot worse. You would think that Damien didn't help the situation at all, but oh, who knew? Jesse made things, you know, terribly wrong. And poor old Jason, he denied everything the whole entire time. Like, he had nothing to do with it. He doesn't know what happened. Like, the boys are lying. There's no way. You know, just all that. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mr. Jesse here. So, Jesse was a high school dropout, and he had a very, very low IQ, and he was very easy to manipulate, and he was very gullible, and he was somebody that people could take advantage of very, very easily, and there's a reason why I'm telling you this. I'm not saying this that I think that. I just, you know, it was a proven fact. But anyways, so Jesse was taken in to be questioned by police, and he just told all this information. You know, he just sang like a canary. He just told everything. So he claims that Damien hit Byers in the head and then proceeded to sexually assault him, and then hit him, you know, repeatedly, and that's, you know, what caused him to pass away. And he said that him and Jesse and Jason, they held down the other two boys while Damien committed this crime. So, you know, they said, or Jesse said that, you know, they didn't really have anything to do with Byers passing away. So, you know, trying to make it a little bit better on himself, I guess. But anyways, so He confessed multiple times, but here is the kicker. He failed a polygraph test, which is hard now. Like, people don't really, like, the courts don't really use polygraph tests anymore because they've kind of been proven, not to be, like, really accurate. But then, this was something that they believed was accurate and believed really, really worked. So he failed a polygraph test when he was asked, certain questions about the crime scene and just things that he said. A lot of the times they didn't really like make sense, and the officers didn't care. They wanted this case to be closed. They wanted it to be over with. They were just trying to appease the people and the parents and just everything. Like I said, they just wanted this case donezo. And like I said, nothing he said was true. None of it. So the confession that he made was actually used in court. Now, like I just said, his confession was proven to be false. Every single last bit of it. Like, none of anything that he said was right at all. It was actually proven that Jesse wasn't even in town when this crime took place. He was at a wrestling match in another town, like a neighboring town. So, yeah. So, I'm going to explain to you what loaded questions are real quick. Loaded questions, I'm going to give you an example. So, when a police officer is interrogating somebody and their questions are suggestive, like, let's say you're getting questioned and the officer is like, so you think they were strangled, right? And you're like, yeah. And you're like, so you think it was with a hammer or like, something, right? And then you're like, yeah, I think it was. So basically they're feeding you information that they're trying to get you to basically like agree with almost. And that's exactly what, how the interrogation went with Jesse. He basically just agreed with everything that, the police officers were just saying to him. And it's kind of sad that they played on his disability. And I mean, it's not kind of sad, it is sad that they played on his disability so much and used that to their advantage to get, try to get like a confession or like information out of him. And it, like I said, it was all false. None of it was real. None of it was true. But that did not stop them. No, it did not. Did not stop them at all from using that confession in court to their advantage. So, on August 4th, the 3 boys pleaded not guilty. There was another prisoner and a cellmate with Baldwin who got up on the stand and confessed that he told him exactly how all the crimes went and told him what they did and how, they were going to get away with it and everything. Well, this kid basically lied because he wanted fame and wanted to get out of prison for a day, I guess, so he could have his little few minutes of stardom, and that would be that. There's an interview with the guy who falsely confessed to Baldwin, telling him that he committed the crimes. He actually recanted his statement later and explained that he, was on a lot of drugs and his mind wasn't right, and he had a lot of mental disabilities and would make up scenarios in his mind that weren't real and that, weren't true at all. And it, got him in a lot of trouble a lot of the times. So, he basically dug a grave for people that were innocent. And they were. The boys were actually innocent. They did not do this crime at all, but that didn't matter. They fit the stereotypical rock and roll kid, bad attitude, death metal, rah rah. They fit that description, so they used it against them. And it's really, really sad that basically nobody fought for these boys in the beginning. And then all of these famous people, Johnny Depp, like all these people from bands and everything, one of the lead singer of the Dixie Chicks, a bunch of people started like raising money for them and to get like DNA tests done and to get the proper investigation done to get these boys out of prison because they're being falsely accused of a crime they did not commit. And they should not be spending time in prison for something that they did not do. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. So, like I said, they used the whole satanic panic thing to their advantage as well. And there was no proof at all of any satanic involvement having to do with these crimes whatsoever. And one of the reasons that they said, you know, this was a satanic ritual was because of Chris's private area being distorted. And actually, it was later proven that there were a certain type of turtles in that creek that, you know, they eat anything and everything. And they were actually responsible for his bite marks on his body. And so, there you go. You know, there's another thing that, like I said, was proven to not be real, but that didn't matter. Like, they didn't care. And it's so messed up. Like, how they just pinned all of this on these innocent boys because they fit this stereotypical rock and roll kid, whatever they wanted to believe they were. You know, like, it's messed up. So, they did everything that they could to try and pin all this on the boys. They did all these extensive searches, and they even searched one of the boys, Baldwin's, backyard at his trailer park, and there was a knife found in a lake. But before, you know, when press was called and stuff like that, there was already like a dive team there basically to retrieve the knife, and they knew excuse me they knew the exact location of the knife. They knew where it was gonna be, what it looked like basically. So they called press and called witnesses to have there to see this knife get pulled out of the water, which I think is just more information to go towards them being stupid in this investigation. Like, it's dumb, in my personal opinion. So, like I said, there were a lot of people that fought for these boys to get them out, and there was like all these movies made about them and everything. There are these movies called Paradise Lost 1, 2, and 3. They're all about this crime, and they're about the boys and everything. Like I said, all types of benefits were held for them to get the right testing, the right investigation done. They just kept going and going and going. And then summer of 1996 and summer of 1997 and 1999, they all tried to appeal, but they were all denied. And I hate that for them, because Damien was seen as the ringleader, and he was actually sentenced to death by lethal injection. Jason and Jesse got life in prison, and it's so wrong to me. Like, it's so wrong. So, but eventually, 18 years later, after investigations, after just everything, the boys were able to enter what's called an Alfred plea. And an Alfred plea basically states that you have to plead guilty to the crime, but the time that you've served goes towards that, and therefore you can be released. So, the Alfred plea has only been done like a few times, and they were actually able to do this and get out of prison 18 years later. So they spent 18 years of their life that they're never, ever, 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 ever going to get back, in prison for something that they did not do at all. Well, we're going to talk about a little bit of some theories that have been made public, and I will, at the end of it, tell you my personal opinion on which theory that I think is the most accurate. You can sound off in the comments below and let me know. I'm really digging this. You can sound off in the comment section down below and let me know how you feel about it. So, we're going to talk about, like I said, some of the conspiracy theories on what has happened and what did happen and who did this crime. So, in 2007, hair evidence was on a shoelace of one of the boys. And that hair evidence was later matched to be Terry, or the stepdad, Terry, of none other than, can you guess it? Steven, or Steve, one of the boys that had gone missing. So, we're going to get into talking about Terry and a little bit of his background and why people think, like I said, that he could possibly be the one involved. Like, his behavior around the crime was very, very fishy. Whenever the boys actually went missing, he actually went to a friend's house and started to play guitar. And then after like an hour or so of being at the friend's house, he proceeded to tell his friend what was going on, and then was like, oh, maybe I should go look for him. While his wife and all these people are out searching for his child, he's with a friend playing guitar. You can hear them screaming your child's name and all these other children's names, but you are playing guitar. Like, that's just suspicious all by itself. So, Mildred French was actually a neighbor to Terry and Pam and Amanda and Steve. So, Amanda and Steve are the two children. They actually called him Stevie, so I might end up calling him Stevie. So, we're still talking about the same person if I do say that name. So, just wanted to clarify. So, why do I keep grabbing that brush? Ugh. Anyways, so, like I said, Terry was very suspicious. There was a neighbor whose name was, like I said, Mildred French. She had come home. She had ran herself a bath at night. She was just, it was time for her to relax, unwind, and just have, some time to herself and to just do her thing. So, she runs her bath water, and she's in the bath, and somebody breaks into her home and enters her bathroom, and guess who it is? It's good old Terry. Terry has entered the bathroom, and at that moment, Mildred has exited the bathtub, and she's trying to get him out, and Terry is trying to shush her, and in that moment, he sexually assaults Mildred, and she screams, and Terry just exits the house. He just basically just runs away, and the cops were called, and Terry's brother actually had a restraining order against him. Terry would hit Pam because he was jealous of the attention that she would give the kids, but mostly would give Stevie, the son, his stepson. And it was said that Stevie kind of made the comment that he favored Amanda more than he favored him. And nobody really knew, like, at the time, like, what that meant, but later, when interviews were done with Amanda, she admitted to blocking out a big part of her childhood. Like, she can't remember years of her life when Terry was her stepdad, and she is pretty sure it has to do with some form of abuse. And sadly, she has actually fallen into a life of drugs and just not doing, so hot for herself, and it makes me really, really sad. But, so yeah, we'll get right back into it. But he would just, he would just do the craziest things. Like, he would beat Stevie, sorry. He would beat Stevie, and he was just very violent towards the whole family. He wouldn't beat Amanda. He just favored her, as Stevie would say, and try to explain. Well, poor Pam, like, I feel like she was stuck. I was in an abusive relationship, so I can understand completely how she must feel. So, she felt stuck, I'm sure, and I'm sure she was scared of what Terry would probably do if she did try to leave. And she didn't really know at the time, like, what was going on, or, you know, the level of what was going on, I'm assuming. That's, like I said, that's not facts. That's just speculation. So, at the time in 2007, excuse me, by the way, at the time in 2007, when that hair evidence was found, a reporter actually went to the home of Terry and Pam, and the reporter was able to collect a cigarette butt from Terry's ashtray from where he smoked. So, it was taken back to the lab where the hair had recently been tested that was caught in a shoestring. And guess what? It was a match. The hair found in the shoestring of one of the boys who had been killed was a match for Terry. So his evidence was found on one of the victims' belongings. So you would think that that was a slam dunk, that something was going to be done about that. No. Nothing got done about it at all. And some of the other parents of the kids, they've done interviews about it as well, talking about how they believe that he probably was involved, that, you know, how else would they find evidence on a shoestring if he wasn't, and I completely agree with that. I don't want to get in trouble or sued or anything like that, so, personal opinion, I believe that there's a possibility that Terry could have been involved. That's what I believe, and I don't know, I feel like there's strong evidence to, you know, admit to that, and to, not to admit to that, but to back that up, basically. Like, there's strong evidence to this statement. Like, his hair was found. Come on, what more could you possibly need? So, it frustrates me so much that, like, nothing was, like, truly done about it. They didn't care, almost. Like, they didn't do anything at all. I'm pretty sure they talked to him and stuff. Like, he was interviewed with the police and everything, but he was just always let go. He just wasn't seen as somebody who had done something like this. But, I mean, it's like, come on, bruh. Like, how could you not see that he is the one who did this? Like, but whatever. So, we're going to talk about another theory, and another one is another parent, actually, who was involved. And it is one of the other fathers to the Byers boy, and his name is John Mark Byers, the dad is. And he actually did interviews for Paradise Lost, and, you know, helped, I guess, make the shows. Not really helped, I'm not going to say that. Sorry, back that up. Didn't help make the shows, but, like, his interviews and stuff, you know, like, helped. You get what I'm saying. Contributed to information on the movies. So, he actually he did some really weird stuff. He just acted weird, like, in videos and in interviews. He made jokes, like, about, like, a Harry Potter, like, okay, so, whenever the hair was found of Terry's on one of the boys, he, in an interview, like, on, like, news and stuff, he was actually saying, well, how did it get there? Harry Potter come with his wand? You know, like, he was making, like, jokes and stuff, and, like, trying to make light of the situation. And I get everybody deals with things differently, but it just seemed, I don't know, it just seemed weird. Like, he was laughing, but then, like, in some videos, his face was very slack and very just like, he didn't care. I'm not going to say he didn't, because that would be assuming, but it's just the looks like on his face, to me, seemed like he didn't care or was irritated with the whole situation, which I'm sure he was. You know, his son had been killed. Like, I can only imagine, like, how irritated he would be, especially with the crappy police work that was, you know, going on. So, one of the strange things that he had done was he'd actually gotten all of his teeth removed. Like, right after the crime happened, he got all of his teeth pulled, which is really, really weird, if you ask me, especially with one of the things that they talked about, you know, being that the boys had, excuse me, woo, woo, sorry, bless me, thank you, you're welcome. Anyways, so, was, you know, that the boys had teeth marks all over him, so it's kind of weird that he got his teeth pulled, like what? And he didn't, like, it's not like he had to make it public, but he kind of, like, hid it, almost, in a way, and, like, didn't really, like, he tried to make sure that it wasn't gonna be, not that he tried to make sure it wasn't gonna be noticed, but, like, he just went out of his way, kinda, to me, in my opinion, and it was really, really weird, and they didn't find out till like 4 years later that he had actually gotten his teeth pulled, right after it happened. So, I just think that's really weird. So, but like I said, Terry was really abusive, and his evidence was found on one of the boys' shoestrings. He was the last one around 3 p.m. to see the boys ride off on their bikes. A neighbor actually saw him yelling at the boys as they drove away on their bikes. He was the last person to see them. His evidence was found at the crime scene on one of the victims' bodies. It's just, there's too much information for him not to be taken in for questioning. So I don't understand why it hasn't happened. So these are one of the stories that frustrate me. And it's not fair, because now this crime is unsolved, and there are 3 children that had their lives taken, and no one knows why. No one knows who did it, nothing. And so, my best bet is that Terry, the stepdad of Stevie, he had something to do with it. There was also a theory of this man called the Bojangles Man, and he came into Bojangles the night of the crime, and he was covered in mud and covered in blood. They didn't have a good description of what his face really, really looked like, but they just knew that he was a black male and that he was tall, and he was kind of a description that was given of somebody that was seen, you know, with the boys that day. There was, like I said, there was said to be somebody who was following the boys whenever they were headed to Robin Hood Hills. And it was, you know, a black man who was tall, and just like some of the features matched the man that came into Bojangles. So there were theories that that could have been who it was, but he was never identified. So sadly, we'll never know if that was really him. And he was called, like I said, Mr. Bojangles. That was the only information that was given about him. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm really interested, because this was kind of a doozy. Like, there was a lot of information. This is probably the longest video I've done. Yeah, this is the longest video that I've done yet. Let me know how you guys feel about these longer videos. I kind of like them. I'm actually done with my makeup and not, like, rushed, which is weird. So, yeah. But just remember, you know, there are things in this world that we will never be able to control, and that's sad. And it's sad that these boys were not able to control their own fate, and their life was stolen from them. And as well as the 3 boys who were convicted of these crimes for 18 years who did not commit these crimes. Their lives were stolen from them as well. Damien has done a lot of interviews. Some of the boys have as well, but he's done the most, talking about his mental health and just how, you know, things affected him and everything. I don't think Jesse's statements and testimony should have been used in court at all, because they were proven to be nothing but fictional. I don't think that they should have used the whole satanic panic, them listening to rock music against them. That's just wrong. There were so many things in this investigation and in this case that were handled terribly and could have been done a lot better if they would have just steered away from the stereotypical emo kid, whatever you want to call it, and just dug a little bit deeper and not take until 2007, almost 10 years later, to actually look for real evidence. And I find it sad that nothing's been done, and that there is somebody who has gotten away with killing 3 8-year-olds. So something about that just doesn't sit right with me at all, and it never will. So let me know, like I said, how you guys feel about this story and these type of stories. It was nice to be here with you guys today. I enjoy this makeup look. I really like it. It's simple, but it's not. So, like I said, thank you for joining me today. And if you like my content, or if you like me, come join the fam. It's a good time over here. I don't want to say, actually, let me take that back. I don't want to say it's a good time. No, it is a good time over here, actually, because I'm a good time. Okay? I'm a good time. I try to be in a good time anyways. I don't know. But, yeah, so hit that notification button, like, share, subscribe, comment, join the fam, like I said, and I will see you guys on the next one. Just remember to stay safe out there and to be kind, and know that I love you. Peace.